Good morning, St. Francis of Assisi Parish. This is Father Allen, hanging out with your dude, St. Francis. And I don't know about you, but I've heard that sequels aren't as good as the originals. Now, someone who claims that has obviously never seen Frozen 2, which is as good as the original, except for. Now you're going to have that stuck in your head. Or Empire Strikes Back, because let's be honest, that is by far the best Star Wars movie. Now, we might think about the Acts of the Apostles kind of like a sequel. It's written by the same author as the Gospel of Luke. We can think of the Gospel of Luke as part 1 and Acts of the Apostles as part 2. And not so much a sequel as a continuation of the story. So all throughout this Easter season, which by the way is the longest liturgical season we have throughout the church year, except for ordinary time, we have this long season of Easter, and we're going to look at one book. Our first reading, both throughout the weekdays and the weekends, are all coming from the same book of the Acts of the Apostles. So think about this time of Easter as sort of a mini Bible study of the Acts of the Apostles. And to help you out, we've put some resources down below that are some great resources to give you an overview of where we are going during this Easter season in the Acts of the Apostles. So whereas Luke's gospel builds and builds and builds and builds to Jerusalem, the Acts of the Apostles takes us from Jerusalem and the Pentecost event out into the world. So the Acts of the Apostles is the continuation of what Jesus is doing now in the world. Whereas we saw the works of Jesus in the Gospel of Luke, now through the Spirit, the apostles take Jesus out into the world. And Jesus is alive through their acts, through what they do. So we're going to see in this really rich book that gives us the first insight of what the church looks like, a church that grows out of conflict, of difficulty, of joys, of struggles, of miracles. We see a church emerge and how Christ is present in all of that. This is a great book for us as we are now in the midst of this coronavirus, in the midst of this own conflict in our own time, how Christ is active in us and in our own lives. So in our first reading today, we hear about Peter, who on the day of Pentecost is filled with the Holy Spirit. He's had this experience of the Spirit, received the Spirit, and now he proclaims with boldness. We're going to see this repeated throughout the book, whether it's in Stephen, through Paul, through Peter. We're going to see these people who are inspired by the Holy Spirit and how it sort of explodes within them. They have to preach and proclaim Christ is risen. So I think as we start out this Acts of the Apostles, here we are in chapter 2. So read chapter 2 today, 1 and 2 today. Think about, how is Christ present in my life? How is Christ acting in me today? And so that we might see that the story of the Acts of the Apostles isn't just something that happened in the past, but this story continues and lives, and Christ is alive in us today through what we say and how we act.